And this is good news exclusively here on Talk Network Radio with Dick Baumbach. I'm Jeff Heiser, and how are you there, Mr. Baumbach?
I am doing great, and I've got some good news for you this week.
And I sure hope it's as good as what you brought us last week, because last week was really pretty exciting, good stuff. Let's kick it right off with the first one that you've sent. Community unites to clean up neighborhood after Milwaukee riots.
Yep. Now, this is the Coalition for Justice. They held a prayer vigil at Wisconsin Sherman Park in the Milwaukee area, and they decided that they had to do something because of these riots to turn it around. So they have gone out, all of their members, and are cleaning up the Milwaukee area where the riots occurred. And again, we're not hearing much about this on the news, are we?
Not at all. And, you know, this is the way it's going to get turned around in these inner cities and where they're having the problems. The community absolutely needs to get involved, because it's not going to be the state, it's not going to be, or the county, the state, or the federal government that makes that big of a difference. It's going to be the people that live there, because they have the most invested there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what these people did. And said, you know, we've got to do something for our community. And so here's what they did. And what troubles me is that other media didn't say, hey, there's a nice story about what people are trying to do to reverse something.
Yeah, it was the same thing that happened in Baltimore. You didn't hear any of the really good stories that came out of there, even though there wasn't many, but you still didn't hear them. All you heard was the bad stuff. And it's such a shame that these people are doing this good work, and it's not getting reported. Now, how many people did they say were involved in this?
They said several hundred. They didn't give an exact number, but they said several hundred. Just said, we're doing this. And then I guess it was another 150 from an adjacent town came over and said they wanted to help out.
Wow. Now, was this primarily faith-based, or was this just anybody in the community could
It seems to be primarily faith-based.
Yeah. That's where it's going to start. And it's those grassroots organizations that get out there and actually make it happen. And hopefully this will set an example for other places. So
I hope.
Yeah.
I hope.
I know if it happened here, if something like that happened here in our community, I would be one of the first people out there trying to get people to clean up and do the right thing, because that's what is the right thing to do, right? I mean,
exactly. That's what we should be doing.
Exactly. So, all right. So your next story, this one here is, I hope I can get through this one. This is it tugs at your heartstrings. When a teen lost her hair to chemo, she started modeling instead of being sad. Oh.
Yeah. This is, again, out of Texas.
It seems like everything's happening in Texas.
Andrea Sierra Salazar, she was diagnosed with stage 2 lymphoma, and she is 17 years old, and she had to take time off from school, and her mother suggested that she support her lifelong interest in modeling. So originally she tried experimenting with wigs, but they just didn't look right. It just didn't feel right. So she decided that she was not going to wear the wigs. And she went to a couple of modeling agencies. And in one case, this man named Geraldo Jaramida, he said, this is incredible. And they started posting stuff on Twitter and then on Facebook. And she said, cancer doesn't stop me from being a princess.
Right.
And the pictures have retweeted over 100,000 times.
Wow. Now, has she been picked up by any media like magazines or print media of that type?
Well, people are now approaching her and about it, and she is also saying that she's going to get her hair back. She's going to recover from this. so they would have to have her with her hair on, and they're saying fine. She is a very, very pretty woman, and if you would go on Twitter and you look up her name, Andrea Sierra Salazar, or you go on Facebook, you'll see the pictures, and it's like amazing.
Yeah, what would be really amazing is if Sports Illustrated picked her up for the bathing suit, their bathing suit issue. That would be that would be a good news. Awesome. That would be a really good news story. You know, I want to ask you something. Have you ever really noticed that when young people, children and kids under 20 years old get or have cancer, experience cancer, how much different their disposition is about that compared to adults? Have you ever noticed that?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay, well, I'm going to fight this through, and I'm going to make it, and I'm going to go be a model, and I'm going to go do this. And when you speak to a lot of adults that have cancer, that's in some cases can be managed or dealt with. It's like, well, I've got the death sentence, and they're like done. It's like,
well, and I think as you mentioned that, I mean, obviously in our family, our oldest grandson had leukemia for 3 years, but for 3 years, what Gabriel said is, I'm going to beat it.
Right, and that's why I brought it up, because it's you have experienced that firsthand, right? I mean, he was a fighter, and he's well now, right?
It's now going on 3 years of cancer free.
Well, is he considering to be a model?
No, Gabriel wants to just be a singer. Gabriel is he loves the pentatonics, and that's what he'll probably do someday.
Well, there you have it. That brings us to our next story. Police officers give hope to elderly couple with a side of pasta. They could give me hope all day long with sides of pasta.
Well, now here, I got to tell you, this did not happen in Texas.
Oh, gosh. New York?
No, in Rome, Italy.
Oh, well, yeah, side of pasta.
What happened is an elderly couple were wailing from their house, and she is 94, he is 89, and the neighbors started getting really concerned. What was happening, they were watching the negative news, and they cried in despair of all the negative news.
Yeah.
And they called the neighbors called the police. When they got there, they found two older people who were very lonely. Nobody was ever visiting them. And the police said, do you mind if we look in your pantry? And they said, sure. Well, the police officers who were on the scene went in and cooked a home-cooked pasta meal for them.
Oh.
To show them that people cared about them.
Wow. Now, these guys just did this, right? Were they on duty? Did it say, or
they were on duty?
Wow. And
they were on duty.
Police officers always get such a bad rap.
Yeah, and here's two guys that did this. But again, as we've said so many times, since we're doing this good news only on TNR, that nobody else is using these stories.
No, and it just amazes me that you don't hear more of this stuff in the news. I mean, if they're looking for numbers, I think the good news would bring in more numbers than the bad news. But
Sure.
I might be wrong, but it definitely seems like that here. So that brings up this next one, the last one for today, and I have a feeling I know a little bit about this one. There's a special couple that is celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary this week. And who might that be?
That might be myself and my lovely bride, Diane.
I had a feeling it was that couple.
Yeah, we've been married 50 years as of September 10th. And we just really see that as a good news story.
That is a good news story.
Yes, and the fact that, we have been blessed with 2 children and 4 grandchildren, and just blessed with friends and relatives all over, and our life has been, for the most part, good news. And I just saw that as, people can go the distance, they can go 50 years, and we did it.
So I'm going to be, my interviewer hat is just been turned on, and I got to ask you, what would you tell people that are married and saying, "Wow, 50 years is a long time"? What would you tell them how to get through life like this?
Well, first of all, I'll give you a little humor, and the first thing I tell people is, all I have done for 50 years is say, "Yes, dear."
Gosh.
And that works. But I think it's literally understanding each other's feelings and emotions, and supporting each other when things get tough, and just knowing that the other person is always there.
Right.
And
go ahead.
And I think and I know that you and your lovely bride, have been married a long time.
Yes, we have.
and again, it's just supporting each other. I mean, that's it.
Yeah. And it's with what you just said, that doesn't just go for marriages. That
Right.
goes for life in general, right? I mean, it really
sure.
does. You have to support one another. We have to support one another, and we have to continue to bring this good news to a world that just seems to be pretty shook up right now. And congratulations on the 50 years. We're going to give you a free show. And this is it. You just won. No. But congratulations to you and your lovely wife on 50 years of marriage, and hope you have another 50 years still to come.
That's my plan.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, and for Good News with Dick Baumbach, exclusively here on Talk Network Radio. He's got me all choked up right now about the 50 years. My parents were married 50 years, and 55 years, and then my dad passed. So it's kind of emotional for me. But I really appreciate you, Mr. Baumbach, being here and bringing us the good news. And what do you have for us next week?
Well, I have something about a police officer who drives 650 miles, and that's all I'll say.
Until then, have a great week, and I hope you have a lot of good news in your life.
You too, and have a great good week. Thank you, Jeff.
Take care.